Friends, and thank you for joining me out here. It's a beautiful summer day, and you can tell from the sweat on my brow this is not typically the kind of weather that you would expect to associate with Islay whiskey, but here we find ourselves. This is one that was sent to me courtesy of Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. It's the Lagavulin Offerman Edition. So this is a limited edition that they released this year, and Offerman in this case refers to, I believe it's Nick Offerman. So if you guys are television fans, you will know him from Parks and Recreation. I have personally never seen the show. I'm sure it's hilarious. People have recommended it, but I don't watch a ton of TV. But he was involved with this, and this is an 11-year-old Lagavulin that is finished in Guinness casks. So we're going to be looking for all those lovely dark beer kind of stout flavors that we'd expect. And just to kind of put this in the context of the Lagavulin portfolio, so I'm just looking at prices here from Binny's, which is usually a reliable indicator of suggested retail price. And so at the low end you have the Lagavulin 8-year-old, which as I recall itself was a limited edition a few years back that they decided to make a mainstay of the Lagavulin range. And then that's $55. And then you've got this one that kind of sits in the middle here. So this is $80, this 11-year-old Offerman Edition. And then sitting above that is kind of the classic Lagavulin 16-year-old that you guys will know and love. And I was surprised when I opened up Binny's site because it's actually $100 now for a bottle. So without whatever's gone on between tariffs and trade dispute and exchange rates and I don't know what else, but that was one that I think I probably recalled picking up for closer to 60, 70, 80 maybe a few years back. But in any case, it's interesting because it's one of the Lagavulin for a long time was one of the most aged whiskeys that I think you saw in any kind of wide availability. Whereas most of the other entry level you think about Ardbeg with a 10-year-old, right? Or Laphroaig with a 10-year-old, or you'd see 12-year-old whiskey from Caol as official bottlings. But Lagavulin had the 16-year-old as the main Lagavulin. Now, of course, they've gone down the range, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just going to get into this, give it a little taste, and let you know what I think. I'm not reviewing this for malt because the inimitable Kat Agason has already done a superlative job of reviewing it and had a really funny review and a great picture. So head on over to www.malt-review if you want to hear what Kat thinks about it. But she was a big fan, and this has excited a lot of people. I saw a lot of photos online. People were very, very chuffed to get their hands on a bottle. So enthusiasm for all things Islay continues. Just do the color there. Yeah, it's a nice sort of medium pale goldish color. It's great when I love Islay whiskey when it is not artificially colored, because it's challenging to so many people's perceptions that the most intense flavors come from these, if you think about like heavily sherry drams, these like incredibly dark whiskeys, and you will get just bruisers in terms of the amount of flavor and the intensity of these whiskeys that are just they're nearly clear. It's incredible how pale like some of the Caol are when you can get them in independently bottled state, and I always love that because again it's just can't judge by appearances. So yeah, so I'm getting. There's some classic Lagavulin notes in here, but I'll tell you what, there's been a lot of batch variation with the 16-year-old, and I don't think that the last couple times I've tried it, it has shown Lagavulin to its best extent. And this smells a lot better than those, so already off on a good foot here. But yeah, I'm getting a lovely marriage of all these elements that are just really well balanced and play well with one another, because of their differences. So, like for example, there's a great fruitiness to this. Like I get maybe a red apple and maybe some like Meyer lemon or some like clementines. Just kind of citrus fruity. But there's this fantastic creaminess and this rich sweetness that comes, and I'm getting a little bit of that. There's a little bit of that beer maltiness, or that kind of roastiness that you get sometimes. That again, that's a flavor I pick out in a lot of stouts. So not surprising. Nice to see the Guinness cask influence on this. You've seen beer cask matured whiskeys that have been hit or miss. Like so, for example, Phil and I reviewed a Jameson that had been matured in beer casks from the Revolution Brewery in Chicago, and it was this nice marriage of me, Chicago, him, Ireland, and being able to have a mashup there. But it was it didn't come off, and I don't know that the beer cask did anything good. So this, I can tell you, at least on the nose here, is imparting some nice notes, but there's still that peat and there's still that Islay that really the thing I love about Islay isn't necessarily the peat and the smoke. I mean, that's obviously a huge component of the whiskey, but when you can get some of those like seashore aromas, so I'm thinking like seashells or salt water. Iodine is one that people bring up a lot. There's a little bit of that in here, but just very, very clean. Like it's almost like a sea breeze, like being out on the seashore. So yeah, so I've enjoyed this thus far. If I would be pleased if I had gone out and paid, what I say, $80 for this, but we will see what it does on the palate. So I'm gonna jump in here. This is 46% ABV. I'm not sure if I said that already, but that's what's coming to you. It's a nice, respectable bottling strength. It's so sad when you see these limited editions and you want to get excited about them, and then they're diluted all the way down to 40% ABV. It's just like, give us some whiskey, man, or woman. So yeah, a lot more sedate and a lot more restrained. The nose was very, very full and very forceful, and this is I'm having to work a little bit harder for the flavors on the palate here. So I'm getting like, it starts pretty sedate. There's maybe a little more of that seashore and I guess more of the iodine on the front of the lips, on the tip of the tongue. And then there's kind of like a dryly smoky note, like an ashy note almost, as this moves up the tongue, and you do get a bit of that creaminess at the middle of the palate. It's and some more of those stout notes, some more of those again. I think roasty is the number one note that I associate with stout, but there's some chocolate in here as well. Good balance, and then it blooms, and there's a great heat and that smoke, and it kind of it creeps back towards the lips and starts to kind of tingle the inside of the lips, and then on the finish, a return to really a marriage of, again, those maritime notes with the smokiness and the peat notes, and just there's like an aftertaste or kind of a resurgence of some of those Guinness notes that again we would want and expect from a Guinness cask matured whiskey. So all in, again, I don't know Nick Offerman from Adam, but and I'm not in fact sure what his particular involvement with this was. Often I'm skeptical when I see these celebrity, like, so for example, there was the Eric Church Jack Daniels that was terrible, and you see various degrees of celebrity involvement. Matthew McConaughey, all right, obviously well known for his association with Longbow's the cider, and should really script these before I do them, but here we are, folks. Promise you this is my first dram of the day. So yeah, some residual sweetness. I mean, this isn't like the most blockbuster forceful Islay whiskey I've ever had, but I think there's good underlying distillate, and I think that you've got some additive notes from the Guinness casks. So if I saw a bottle of this for $80, would I pick it up? My Islay budget is so focused on independent bottlings of, again, Kalila or the other ones that you can find, and they're increasingly dear, and I really I'm happy to have tried this. I'm glad a sample was shared with me. Thank you very much again, Ryan. But if I had my druthers, I would really probably go with an independent bottling and pay a little bit more and potentially get a little bit extra. So for what that does for you, but not bad. If I were going to score this on the malt scale, I'd say maybe a 6 out of 10. Okay, above average. It's nice tasting. It's decent value for the money, and again, I think in a lot of ways the younger bottling age of this works in the whiskey's favor in comparison, again, to some lackluster batches of the 16-year that I've had recently that had some rather sort of off, sort of overly aged or tired notes. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but just kind of an encroachment of the wood on what I really care about, which is the underlying spirit. So, so those are my conclusions. This is kind of a quick hit one here, under 10 minutes, but hopefully that was informative to you all, and give this a try and let me know what you think in the comments. But thanks again, as always, for spending some time with me and tasting some whiskey. So, cheers.